Welcome to my channel everyone. Let me ask you a simple question. What if just 10 minutes a day could assist you improve your English, remember things more easily, and feel more confident when you speak? It sounds too simple, doesn't it? Most people believe reading is just something students do for school or something book lovers enjoy in their free time. But what if reading is much more powerful than that? What if several pages a day could gradually change the way you think, learn, and communicate? What if this little habit could assist you become an improved English speaker without feeling stressed or overwhelmed? Today we're going to discover the astonishing power of reading each and every day. And trust me, some of the benefits might surprise you. So stay with me until the end because this simple habit could be the key to improving your English and transforming your life one page at a time. Chapter 1. Why reading each and every day is more powerful than you think. Most people want to improve their lives. They want to speak improved English. They want to learn new things. They want to feel more confident when they talk to others. They want to remember information more easily. They want to become smarter and more successful. But there's one problem. Most people want quick results. They want a secret method. They want a shortcut. They want something that works quick. If a result takes weeks or months, a great many folks lose interest. We live in a world where everything feels instant. Food arrives quickly. Messages arrive in seconds. Videos begin with one click. Because of this, a great many folks expect personal growth to happen quickly, too. But real growth rarely works that way. The most powerful changes in life usually come from little actions, repeated again and again. One of those actions is reading each and every day. Now when people hear the word reading, many of them immediately think of school textbooks, challenging vocabulary or long hours spent studying. That's why some people avoid reading altogether. They think it's boring. They think it's challenging. Think it takes too much time. But daily reading isn't about forcing yourself to read huge books for hours. It's about spending several minutes each day learning something new. It's a simple habit. But simple habits are often the most powerful. Think about brushing your teeth. It only takes several minutes each day, but over time it protects your health. Reading works in a similar way. Several minutes today may not seem significant. Several pages may not feel life-changing. But when those little moments are repeated day after day, week after week, something remarkable begins to happen. Let's compare reading with something most of us do each and every day. Scrolling through our phones. Be honest with yourself. Have you ever picked up your phone just to check one message and then suddenly realized that 30 minutes or even an hour had passed? It happens to almost everyone. You watch one short video, then another, then another. The content is entertaining. It keeps your attention for a moment. But when you put your phone down, how much do you really remember? Usually not very much. The entertainment disappears quickly. Your time is gone, but very little remains in your mind. Reading is different. When you read, your brain becomes active. It doesn't simply watch. It works. It creates pictures in your imagination. It connects ideas. It asks questions. It searches for meaning. Instead of being a passive observer, you become an active participant. This is one reason reading is so powerful. Every page is like exercise for your brain. Imagine going to a gym. If you exercise regularly, your muscles become powerfuler. If you stop exercising, your muscles become weaker. The same thing happens with your mind. Reading strengthens significant mental skills. It improves concentration because you learn to focus on one thing for a longer period of time. It improves imagination because your mind creates scenes, people, and places from words on a page. It improves thinking skills because reading introduces new ideas and challenges you to understand them. These benefits may seem little at first, but they grow every time you open a book, article, or story. You don't need to read for hours each and every day to enjoy these benefits. In fact, even 5 or 10 minutes can make a difference. Think about that for a moment. 5 minutes. Most people spend more than that deciding what video to watch. Most people spend more than that checking social media. 5 minutes may seem tiny, but those minutes add up. 5 minutes today becomes 35 minutes this week. 35 minutes this week becomes hours every month. And those hours become books, knowledge, and personal growth over time. Little actions repeated consistently always become something much larger. Many successful people understand this idea very well. They make reading a regular part of their lives. Some read in the morning before their day begins. Others read during lunch breaks. Some read before going to sleep. They don't do it because someone forces them to. They do it because they understand that learning never stops. Reading assists them continue growing. It assists them discover new ideas. It assists them make improved decisions. It assists them understand the world more clearly. The habit may look simple from the simple outside, but its results can be extraordinary. Now, let me ask you an interesting question. What happens when someone reads each and every day for several weeks? What happens after several months? What happens after several years? Do they simply learn more information, or does something deeper begin to change? Does their confidence grow? Does their thinking become clearer? These are significant questions because the larger just benefits of reading aren't always the ones you can see immediately. 4. And that brings us to something fascinating. Reading doesn't only change what you know, it gradually changes who you become. The changes begin quietly. They happen inside your mind, inside your habits, and inside the way you see yourself and the world around you. In the next chapter, we're going to explore exactly how daily reading creates these personal changes and why so a great many folks discover a completely new version of themselves through this simple habit. Chapter 2. How daily reading changes your mind and improves your English. Have you ever learned a new English word and then suddenly begin seeing it everywhere? Maybe you read it in a book. Then you heard it in a video. Later you noticed it in a conversation or on a website. It feels almost like magic. But it's not magic at all. It's one of the astonishing things that happens when you read regularly. Your brain begins paying attention to words and phrases that at once ignored. The more you read, the more familiar English becomes. And that's one of the larger just reasons daily reading is so powerful for English learners. A great many folks try to improve their vocabulary by memorizing long word lists. They write hundreds of words in notebooks. They spend hours trying to remember definitions. At first, this seems like a great idea, but there's a problem. When words are learned without context, they are often forgotten quickly. You may remember a word today and completely forget it next week. Reading works differently when you encounter a word in a story, an article, or a conversation. You see how it's actually used. You see the words around it. You understand its meaning naturally. Then you see it again in another sentence and again somewhere else. Gradually that word becomes part of your vocabulary without feeling like hard work. Think about how children learn their first language. They don't memorize dictionaries. They hear words repeatedly in real situations. Reading creates a similar experience for English learners. Every page introduces you to useful words, expressions, and sentence patterns. Some words appear again and again. Every time you see them, your understanding becomes powerfuler, needy. This natural repetition is one of the most effective ways to learn a language. Reading also assists improve grammar even if you're not studying grammar directly. This surprises many learners. They believe grammar can only be learned through rules and exercises. Of course, grammar lessons can be assistful, but reading gives you something equally significant. It shows you correct English over and over again. When you read regularly, your brain becomes familiar with proper sentence structures. You begin recognizing what sounds natural and what sounds strange. Quite, you may not always know the grammar rule by name, but you begin using it correctly because you have seen it hundreds of times before. I experienced this myself. There were many grammar structures that felt confusing when I first learned them. But after seeing them repeatedly in books and articles, they began feeling normal. I no longer had to think so hard about them. The patterns became familiar. This is one of the hidden benefits of reading. Your brain learns quietly in the background even when you don't realize it. 4. As your vocabulary and grammar improve, something else begins to happen. Your speaking and writing begin improving too. When you read, you collect useful language. You learn how ideas are expressed. You learn how sentences flow naturally. Later, when you speak or write, some of those words and structures come back to you. At first the improvement may feel little, but over time your sentences become clearer. Your ideas become easier to express. You feel more comfortable communicating in English. Many English learners not excited agreement during this process say hest. One day they open a book, watch a video, or listen to a conversation and suddenly realize something. They understand more than they used to. Words that once seemed challenging now feel familiar. Sentences that once seemed confusing now make sense. This moment is incredibly motivating. It shows that progress is happening. It proves that all those little reading sessions are working. There's another benefit that a great many folks don't expect. Reading improves focus. We live in a world full of distractions. Phones buzz. Notifications appear. Videos compete for our attention every second. Because of this, a great many folks struggle to concentrate for long periods of time. Reading trains your brain to focus on one thing at a time. When you read a page carefully, you're practicing attention. Every paragraph strengthens your ability to concentrate. Over time, this improved focus assists you in many areas of life, not just language learning. Reading also strengthens memory. Every time you follow a story, remember characters or connect new ideas with old ones, your brain is it similar to how physical exercise strengthens the body. Mental exercise strengthens the mind. This is why regular readers often find it easier to remember information, learn new skills, and connect ideas together. But perhaps the most exciting change isn't about vocabulary, grammar, focus or memory, it's about confidence. When you understand more English, you begin trusting yourself more. You become less afraid of making mistakes, more willing to speak. You stop seeing English as something impossible and begin seeing it as something you can actually master. That confidence changes the way you learn. It changes the way you communicate. It even changes the way you see yourself. And here is something fascinating. Reading doesn't stop at improving your language skills. The changes go much deeper than that. Why for Harry? The books you read, the ideas you discover, and the stories you experience begin shaping your personality, your habits, and even the way you think about life. We're going to explore those hidden benefits and discover how reading can transform much more than just your English. Chapter 3. The hidden benefits of reading that most people never expect. Up to this point, we have talked about how reading improves your English. We have talked about vocabulary, grammar, speaking, writing, focus, and memory. These benefits are marvelous, especially if you're learning English. But here is something a great many folks don't realize. Reading changes much more than your language ability. In fact, some of the most powerful benefits of reading have nothing to do with English at all. They have to do with the kind of person you become. Let's begin with confidence. Have you ever felt nervous during a conversation because you didn't know what to say? Maybe someone talked about a topic you knew very little about. Maybe you wanted to join the conversation but stayed quiet instead. This happens to a great many folks. Often the problem isn't a lack of intelligence, it's simply a lack of knowledge. Knowledge gives people confidence. The more you learn, the more prepared you feel. And reading is one of the easiest ways to gain knowledge each and every day. Every article, every story, and every book teaches you something new. Gradually you begin feeling more comfortable sharing your thoughts. You become less afraid of speaking because you have more ideas to contribute. Confidence doesn't appear overnight. It grows one piece of knowledge at a time. This leads to another hidden benefit of reading. Readers often have more interesting conversations. Think about it. When you read regularly, you're constantly collect. You learn about history, science, people, cultures, habits, and experiences. You discover stories and lessons that you can share with others. Imagine meeting a friend and talking about an interesting idea you read that morning. Imagine hearing a discussion about a topic you recently explored in a book. Suddenly you have something valuable to add. Reading fills your mind with ideas, and those ideas make conversations richer and more enjoyable. There's another benefit that a great many folks need today more than ever. Reading can reduce stress. Life can be busy. There are responsibilities, deadlines, problems, and worries. Sometimes it feels like your mind never gets a chance to rest. Even when you're relaxing, your phone keeps sending notifications. New messages arrive. New videos appear. Your attention is pulled in different directions all day long. Reading offers something different. It allows you to gradual down. When you sit quietly with a book, your mind focuses on one thing instead of 100 things. For several minutes, you leave your worries behind and enter a different world. A great many folks describe reading as a peaceful escape. It's not running away from life, it's simply giving your mind a chance to breathe. One of the most lovely things about reading is that it allows to experience lives that are completely different from your own. Through books, you can visit countries you have never seen. You can learn about people from different cultures. You can understand experiences that are very, very different from your own. A person living thousands of miles away may think differently, dream differently, and see the world differently. Reading allows you to step into that person's shoes for a while. This makes you more open-minded. It assists you understand people improved. It teaches empathy. You begin realizing that there are many ways to see the world and that understanding makes you wiser. Reading also develops qualities that are valuable in every area of life. One of those qualities is patience. In today's world, people want everything immediately: quick food, fast internet, fast results. But books teach us something significant. Great things often take time. You can't complete a great story in 30 seconds. You can't understand a deep idea instantly. Reading teaches you to gradual down and enjoy the journey. Another quality reading develops is curiosity. Every book introduces new questions. Every chapter opens a new door. Curious people continue learning throughout their lives. They continue growing. Reading keeps that curiosity alive. And then there's discipline. Showing up each and every day to read even for several minutes teaches consistency. It teaches you how to keep a promise to yourself. That lesson becomes valuable far beyond reading. Sometimes reading does something even more extraordinary. It inspires new dreams. A single story can introduce a new possibility. A biography can show you what is possible through hard work. A book about travel can make you curious about the world. A book about business can inspire a new career path. A book about personal growth can encourage you to become an improved version of yourself. Many successful people can point to one book that changed the way they thought. One book that gave them a new goal. One book that inspired them to take action. In fact, there are people whose entire lives changed because of a single book. Imagine that for a moment. Someone walks into a library or bookstore looking for something to read. They pick up a book without knowing what is inside. Several days later, they see the world differently. They discover a new passion. They find a new purpose. They decide to learn a skill, begin a business, travel to a new country, or change the direction of their life completely. It sounds incredible, but it happens more often than you might think. Books contain ideas, and sometimes one powerful idea is all it takes to change a person's future forever. The fascinating thing is that these changes happen quietly. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly feel like a completely different person. The growth is gradual. It happens page by page, day by day, week by week. At first, you may not notice anything. Then one day you realize you're more confident. You realize you're more curious. You realize you think differently than before. Looking back, you see how much you have grown. The changes were happening all along even when you couldn't see them. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine reading for just several minutes each and every day. Not for 1 week, not for 1 month, but for an entire year. Imagine all the words you would learn. Imagine all the ideas you would discover. Imagine how much powerfuler your English could become. Imagine how much more confident, knowledgeable, and focused you could feel. The person you're today and the person you could become 1 year from now might be very different. And that exciting possibility brings us to our final chapter, where we will talk about how to build a simple reading habit and what 1 year of daily reading can truly do for your life. Chapter 4. How to build a reading habit and transform your future. Now that we have explored the many benefits of reading, there's a significant question we need to answer. If reading is so powerful, why do so a great many folks struggle to make it a daily habit? The answer is actually very simple. Most people try to do too much too quickly. They begin with large goals. They promise themselves they will read for an hour each and every day. They buy several books at once. They create a complicated plan. Everything feels exciting for several days. But then life becomes busy. Motivation begins to disappear. The plan feels challenging to follow. Eventually they stop reading altogether. This happens because they focused on doing a lot instead of doing a bit consistently. The truth is that successful habits usually begin little. Very little. In fact, if you want to build a reading habit that lasts, one of the best things you can do is begin with just 5 or 10 minutes a day. I know that may sound too simple. You may be thinking, can 5 minutes really make a difference? The answer is yes. 5 minutes may not seem significant today, but it becomes powerful when repeated every single day. Remember, the goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is to create a habit that becomes part of your life. 5 minutes today becomes 10 minutes tomorrow, 10 minutes becomes 20. Before you realize it, reading feels natural. It becomes something you look forward to rather than something you force yourself to do. A great many folks fail because they focus on reading more. Successful readers focus on reading regularly. Another significant secret is choosing things you genuinely enjoy reading. This mistake stops many beginners. They think they must begin with challenging books or serious topics. They choose something that feels more like homework than enjoyment. After several pages, they become bored and quit. Reading shouldn't feel like a punishment. It should feel like an opportunity. If you enjoy stories, read stories. If you love travel, read about different countries. If you enjoy learning about successful people, read biographies. If you like simple English articles, begin there. The best reading material isn't the most challenging. The best reading material is the one that makes you want to turn the next page. One thing that can make reading much easier is choosing the same time each and every day. Our brains love routines. When you read at the same time daily, your mind begins expecting it. Maybe you read for 10 minutes after breakfast. Maybe you read before going to bed. Maybe you read during your lunch break. The exact time doesn't matter as much as consistency. A regular reading time removes the need to decide when to read. It becomes part of your schedule, just like brushing your teeth or drinking your morning tea. Over time, it feels automatic. There are also several simple tricks that make building the habit easier. Keep your book somewhere you can see it. Place it on your desk, your bedside table, or anywhere you spend time. When a book is visible, it reminds you to read. When it's hidden inside a drawer, you often forget about it. Another assistful strategy is reducing distractions. Put your phone away for several minutes. Turn off notifications. Give your full attention to the page in front of you. Even a short period of focused reading is more valuable than a longer period filled with interruptions. As you begin your reading journey, there are several common mistakes you should avoid. The first mistake is expecting quick results. Reading is like planting a seed. You don't plant it today and expect a tree tomorrow. Growth takes time. The second mistake is choosing books that are too challenging. If every page feels frustrating, you're less likely to continue. Begin with material that feels comfortable and enjoyable. The third mistake is comparing yourself with other readers. Maybe someone reads 50 books a year. Maybe another person reads for 2 hours each and every day. That's their journey, not yours. The only person you must compare yourself with is the person you were yesterday. Little progress is still progress. Now, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine that beginning today, you read for just 10 minutes each and every day. 1 year passes. What might your life look like? Your English would likely be much powerfuler than it's today. You would know hundreds of new words. Your vocabulary would feel richer and more natural. Your focus would improve because your brain would be used to concentrating for longer periods. Your confidence would grow because you would understand more and have more knowledge to share. You would learn about new ideas, new places, and new ways of thinking. Conversations would become easier because you would have more to say. Your communication skills would improve because reading teaches you how ideas are expressed clearly and effectively. You wouldn't only be an improved English learner, you would be a more knowledgeable, confident, and capable person. And here is something I want you to remember. Every great reader began exactly where you're right now. They weren't born reading books each and every day. They weren't born with endless knowledge or perfect English. They began with a single page. One page became another page. One day became another day. Little actions became powerful habits. Powerful habits created extraordinary results. The people you admire today often began with the same little step you can take right now. So as we come to the end of this lesson, I want you to think about one simple idea. Your future isn't created by one large decision, it's created by little choices repeated consistently over time. Reading for several minutes today may seem insignificant, but today's little reading session could be the beginning of something much larger. It could improve your English. It could strengthen your confidence. It could inspire new dreams. It could change the way you think and see the world. 1 year from now, you may look back on this day and realize that one little habit changed everything. So, pick up a book, read one page, and begin. Your transformation begins today. You have reached the end of this video and your reading journey is just beginning. Remember, you don't need to read for hours. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to begin. One page today can become one book tomorrow. And one book can change your future. So after this video, find something interesting and read for just several minutes. If you enjoyed this lesson, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our future English learning lessons. And in the comments below, tell me this. What was the last thing you read? And how many minutes will you read today? Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next.